This is Isaac Prasad for PRM 612. The following video is going to explain the emotional intelligence domain self-management. Daniel Goleman in his book, Emotional Intelligence, identified 4 domains of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. This video is going to explain the concepts behind self-management. Roy Burke and Steve Barron in their book Project Management Leadership, expand on the emotional intelligence domains and associated competencies, adapted from Goleman, Boytses and McKee, 2002 Primal Leadership. Burke and Barron identify 6 competencies for the self-management domain: emotional self-control, optimism, transparency, achievement, initiative, and adaptability. Burke and Barron theorize, how can a leader lead if they respond to situations with uncontrolled emotions? Goleman describes this negative reaction as a primal action where the brain is responding to a perceived threat. Consider this situation. You are the project manager and you find out one of your team members is playing video games all day and another is doing yoga during work time. How do you react? Do you get angry and let your emotions get the best of the situation? Or do you encourage the team to stay focused on their task at hand? A leader exhibiting emotional self-control does the latter. Burke and Barron define optimism as seeing opportunities and not threats when things are not going well while maintaining a positive attitude. Consider this situation. Your project is on time and on budget. All of a sudden the world comes to a standstill due to a worldwide pandemic. What do? Your company stands to lose millions of dollars if the project is not delivered on time. Do you panic, which could cause your team to spiral? Or, do you use the situation as an opportunity to rally the team and figure out new ways of working together in a virtual team environment? A leader who is exhibiting high emotional IQ does the latter. Burke and Barron define transparency as being able to openly admit mistakes or faults and demonstrate authenticity. Consider this situation. As the leader of the project, you have set an aggressive schedule and are holding your team to the timeline. Milestones start to be missed, and team morale is at an all-time low. As a leader, you have the option to reflect on what is causing the slippage, and you discover that your time estimations were too aggressive. You have 2 choices. 1. Blame the team for not meeting the schedule. Or, 2. Admit your mistake, take responsibility, adjust the project timeline, and move on with the new timeline and milestone dates in sight. A leader exhibiting transparency demonstrates high emotional IQ and gains the trust of their team and their leadership. Burke and Barron define achievement as a competency where leaders are setting standards and always looking to improve themselves and their teams. This includes setting high goals, understanding the risks, and constantly learning. Consider the leader who sets clear goals and is constantly learning about new project management techniques, team building tools, implementation or deployment strategies, or other information that will benefit the team. Now consider the leader who brings that information back to the team to help the team grow professionally. That type of leader is demonstrating high emotional IQ and developing their team. Burke and Barron define initiative as being able to bend the rules or remove obstacles when it is possible to create better possibilities for the future. Consider this situation. You are a project manager running a project where timelines are short and team members are not allowed to work from home. Company culture dictates all company business needs to occur at office locations. As the project manager, you have been given the authority to allow staff to work from home if necessary. As a leader, you give staff the ability to work from home a couple of days a week to help with meeting the aggressive timelines. Many of the team members have 1-hour one-way commutes to work, so the ability to work from home a couple of days a week helps with meeting project deadlines. As a leader, you are exhibiting a high level of emotional IQ by showing initiative and allowing the work from home option. Burke and Barron define adaptability as having the ability to juggle multiple demands, being comfortable with the unknown, and having flexibility in how you approach a situation. Consider this situation. You have been assigned as the project manager for a B2B web portal project for an oil company that is developing a new business model. The company's CEO is a visionary who is constantly adding to the project scope as he dreams up new ways of conducting business. As the project manager, it is your job to control scope and timeline without sacrificing quality or adding unnecessary risk to the project. Given how well the project is going, your supervisor decides to capitalize on your knowledge by adding similar projects to your plate where you can advise other project managers. As a leader, you approach the situation with a high level of emotional IQ. You don't run off complaining how overworked you are. Instead, you offer help to your fellow project managers by coaching them through the steps you are taking on your current project while still running the project. You manage the CEO of the current project by creating a deadline to gather the requirements for the B2B web portal and still a project scope freeze date. Any proposed changes introduced after the freeze date will require a change request and will need to go in front of a change advisory board for justification and approval. As a leader, you are exhibiting good emotional IQ by adapting to situations that come your way. Let's review what we have learned today. Self-management is one of 4 domains that Daniel Goleman identified for emotional IQ. There are 6 competencies that exist in the self-management domain: emotional self-control, optimism, transparency, achievement, initiative, adaptability. Emotional IQ is a discipline that has evolved over the last century. Travis Bradberry and Gene Greaves, authors of the best-selling book, Emotional Intelligence Appraisal, interviewed 500,000 subjects. Their findings concluded, first, there is an emotional epidemic in the world. Only 36% of the subjects tested were able to identify their emotions as they occurred. Second, there are few truths behind labels. Women outscore men in 3 of the 4 domains: self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Men and women scored equal in the domain self-awareness. And third, it's lonely at the top. Middle management have the highest emotional IQ scores. Directors and above have the lowest emotional intelligence scores. In Chapter 1 of their book The Emotional Intelligence Quick Book, Bradberry and Greaves introduced the story of Phineas Gage. Phineas was known as a leader who had high emotional IQ. After an accident where the frontal lobe of his brain was damaged, Phineas's ability to exhibit high emotional IQ deteriorated. Phineas went on to live for 11 years. His headless body was buried in San Francisco and brain is on display at Harvard Medical School. In 1940, Phineas' tombstone was dumped into the bay to create a breakwater. Every February, the tombstones are exposed during low tide as a reminder to the power of emotional intelligence.